Hello everybody, Batra here, and today I wanted to just make a quick video that I'm calling my Peptide Primer. So before I did anything with peptides, tried any peptides, I spent a lot of time researching, as you probably are right now on YouTube and looking around at all the different pieces of information and resource, and I couldn't find one single place that sort of answered a lot of my questions and gave me what I wanted to know about peptides. Obviously this is based on what I would have been looking for, but also you're welcome to comment or send me your questions of other things you'd like to hear about in this video, in future videos. First off, I'm not a doctor. Disclaimer: I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy who has a strong background in exercise phys and biomechanics, in research, and worked in the supplement industry. And wanted to kind of give you my experiences as well as some of my background and my understanding of peptides. So let's start with the basic question of what is a peptide. A peptide is basically a chain of amino acids that unlocks a process within the body. The body has, we now know, there are hundreds of thousands of known peptides within the body at this point. So peptides have been known about for a long time, but the concept of what we're talking about here, which is therapeutic peptides, are basically using peptides to heal or create processes, make processes in the body happen that you want to happen, is essentially what peptides are. And there's all kinds of peptides that do all kinds of different things. So if we think of the body as a series of locks, and peptides are the key that unlock things. So our body has, genetics that kind of determine our potential, but then within the body still has to do these things. So there's peptides that may help with increasing growth hormone or releasing growth hormone. There's peptides that can help you sleep. There's peptides that can help you help you heal your joints. There's peptides that can help with muscle building. There's peptides that can help, with mitochondrial dysfunction. We'll talk about a handful of these peptides today. That's essentially what a peptide is. It's a chain of amino acids. Most peptides, therapeutic peptides, have to be delivered via injection, typically a subcutaneous injection with a little insulin needle, which is what scares off a lot of people to peptides. Some of them are oral pills or can be taken, some of them can be taken orally as a pill and are tolerated that way. But if you think of a peptide being a chain of amino acids, just like when you eat a steak or a piece of chicken, your digestive system will take that as amino acids and break them down. If you take a peptide, take a peptide in a pill, a lot of them will be broken down by the digestive system and then absorbed as amino acids, just like anything else that you eat with protein in it. So they won't stay intact. So in order to have them get in the bloodstream and do what they're supposed to do within the body, that's why most peptides are injected. Interesting about peptides, they're primarily something that's naturally occurring. So these are peptides, they already exist in the body, most of the peptides out there. And because of that, it has an interesting thing with the pharmaceutical industry because they can't really patent something that's naturally occurring. So one of the reasons peptides came to the forefront and people are talking about peptides a lot is because of the GLP-1 agonists, or the GLP-1 peptides, semaglutide, tirzepatide. So that's under the brand names of Ozempic and Wegovy, and Mounjaro. Tirzepatide is Mounjaro. And because of the craze around these drugs, or the popularity of them, that's kind of brought peptides to the forefront. And when we talk about these GLP-1 agonist peptides, the peptides themselves are naturally occurring. So what the pharmaceutical companies are doing is they're patenting the usage and the delivery system of the peptide, not the peptide itself. So how that peptide is administered. And they've done this for many, many years with drugs. Perfect example, tadalafil, which is branded Cialis, the erectile dysfunction medication. Tadalafil originally was invented as a blood pressure medication, but when they discovered it had a secondary usage of helping with erectile dysfunction, it was repatented and rebranded under a brand name, and then they sell it for a much higher price now by prescribing it for a different usage. And this is very common in the pharmaceutical industry. It's something they've been doing for many, many years. And so when it comes to peptides, there's not a lot of money in something that's naturally occurring. So the pharmaceutical industry wants to do more with peptides, but what we're going to see is they're going to figure out what the usage are. They're probably going to package them up under a brand name and put them in some sort of a delivery system, and then the prices will be astronomical. Because of peptides sort of walk this line, and they are essentially a drug, but they're like a naturally occurring. It makes the regulations a little odd. Most peptides that you would want to take, you would need a prescription, so you'd need to see your doctor and get them prescribed from a pharmacy. Of course, there is this gray area of research peptides. I'm not warranting or saying that one of the challenges getting the quality. The highest quality peptide you will get will always be to go to your medical professional. It's just like anything else someone does black market or off market. Your highest quality peptides or your insurance of a quality peptide is to go through your medical professional. And if you're interested in these and get them prescribed to you by a doctor or medical professional. And in the future, I plan to have some doctors and medical professionals that are experts on this that can come help and talk more about that. And perhaps we'll work on a referral network of people that we can recommend to some doctors who are up to date on peptides. One of the challenges too with running into peptides is you just go to your regular doctor, your family medicine, your GP, and you start asking them about Ipamorelin or BPC 157. They're going to look at you like you're speaking Greek. If they've even heard of them, they won't know what to do with them, where to get them, who prescribes them, because also these aren't at Walgreens down the street. These aren't at your neighborhood pharmacy. These are typically from compounding pharmacies or specialty labs that synthesize and create these peptides that you can then deliver. So that's the basics of peptides. I'm not going to get into the reconstitution administration. There's actually one of the things, there are good tutorials online, but for most people it's just not even understanding what is a peptide and why they would even care. So kind of moving on from that piece of it, if you're interested further, you can and you decide you're going to go this route, then you'd want to find a healthcare provider or an expert that can really talk you through these. But myself, when I got into peptides, I was interested in a handful of them, and I'm going to go through them now. First peptide I'd like to talk about is BPC 157, which is often nicknamed the magic healing peptide. Now, it comes in sort of two forms. It's sometimes found orally, which is known to be good for the gut biome. So people with irritable bowel syndrome or gut issues, autoimmunity that's stemming in the gut, they'll like to take the oral version of BPC 157, and that can be very healing. That is actually the version I took because I have had some gut issues in the past, and I did find benefit in taking BPC 157 in an oral compound. I have not used the injectable version, but I have actually coached a friend and helped a friend take it for healing chronic knee injuries. And he did receive, it's anecdotal because obviously he was resting and treating his knee, but we did find that it accelerated his healing, and I helped him with, getting on the BPC, and then helped him when he did the reconstitutions and administration of the BPC 157. And it's incredible. It's known for helping with healing tendons, basically joint and soft tissue injuries is kind of where it's mostly used. And again, they were kind of nicknamed it the magic healing peptide. And it's one interesting, and there is research to back it, that you can look up research studies, and I'm not going to get deep into that, just giving up. This is a primer, so we're not talking about deep into the research of each one, but just giving an overview. The second peptide that I had experience with and actually had a very great results from, was able to reduce adipose belly fat with, was Ipamorelin, which is a growth hormone secretagogue. So there's a handful of peptides in the space that all deal with growth hormones. Some of them are known to help with the production of growth hormone, and some are known to help with the releasing of growth hormone. My understanding of Ipamorelin is it is designed to, or it helps with the release of growth hormone. And I did notice a great result. I did notice leaning out. I felt stronger, and I did. It's interestingly, and again, we're not getting too deep in the usage or dosing of Ipamorelin, but it works best fasted. So at night, you take it, typically we'll take it at night, and then you could take it again sometimes in the morning on an empty stomach, twice a day. It's a subcutaneous injection. And I really started noticing a reduction in adipose tissue and body fat in the about 2 to 3 weeks in, and I think I did, my cycle was about 8 weeks on the Ipamorelin, and I had it maybe a little bit less, but it lasted around 8 weeks, based on the amount of Ipamorelin that I had in my and reconstituted and worked through the little vials of them. So the third one, which is it is technically a peptide, but it's more of an antioxidant. and that's glutathione, and I've used injectable glutathione. When I take injectable glutathione, I notice better recovery. If you're getting sick, immunity will blast your immunity. The one thing I noticed, at least with the glutathione I had, was it is not the most comfortable injection. It kind of burns, and I noticed some site injections. So if you're sort of all the other ones, the BPC, the Ipamorelin, you won't feel anything. They're tiny little subcutaneous injections. But the glutathione is it's it's not the most lovely injection, and I don't know if it's the particular glutathione because I've only tried one particular type. So that's a question I would have for a doctor, somebody who prescribes glutathione regularly. But I did find glutathione to actually be a sort of an uncomfortable peptide. But then the benefits were incredible. And as someone who doesn't necessarily drink alcohol all the time, but does like to indulge in alcohol, a shot of glutathione after drinking too much is like a hangover cure in a pill, because that's one of the things as an antioxidant. It's a liver antioxidant, and it does a great job of helping break down the acetate and the byproducts, the harmful byproducts of alcohol. Um, the last one that I have experience with that I'm going to talk about, which is by far my favorite peptide that I've tried, is a peptide called Mots-C. And what Mots-C is a mitochondrial peptide. What it's known to do is to help improve any mitochondrial dysfunction. And over the years, I've struggled with blood sugar issues, with pre-diabetic blood sugars. It does run in my family, but also, as a younger person, my diet was terrible. Drank way too much soda, ate way too much sugar. So I think I had done some dysfunction dietarily to my mitochondria. And so Mots-C is known to help with those factors. It's also known to help with people who have obesity, who have too much body fat. And I noticed when I took Mots-C that I did it on a once weekly injection protocol. If I do it again, I think I'll do it in a 2 or 3 time with a smaller dosage. But what I noticed was almost immediately a burst of energy. Like when I went and worked out, I felt like my exercise performance went up significantly. I saw the numbers change in my blood sugar meter. So I would check my blood sugar, and my blood sugar dropped like about 10 points. Fasted blood sugar was significantly lower, and it was in a point like lower levels than I'd seen over many years of tracking and checking my blood sugar. In my worst days, it would sit around 110, but after years of using extreme ketogenic diets, other things, I was able to get my blood sugar back down closer to 100, often 99. So I started seeing numbers more like in the 86 with my blood sugar with the Mots-C. So again, one of my absolute most favorite peptides. The other thing I noticed with Mots-C was about 2 weeks after, 2 weeks into the Mots-C, almost an immediately drop in belly fat. So I noticed like right around the midsection, and you could look. I looked in the mirror and I was like, "What?" And then I thought, "Oh, I'm doing the Mots-C." So I did notice anecdotally that I had a huge drop in body fat, measurable. I was able to measure it with both calipers and with a tape measure. The two methods I'll typically use for tracking belly fat. And I did notice across the board, Mots-C gave me a big drop in belly fat. So the other two kind of areas I want to talk about in peptides that I'm sort of interested in and I haven't done anything with yet. There is another growth hormone secretagogue called tesamorelin, which is sort of considered the king of peptides. I'm interested because it's known again to reduce significant amount of belly fat, and it's known to take off stubborn belly fat. One of the reasons I haven't touched on tesamorelin, and if you're interested in this and you go talk to a doctor, is tesamorelin is very expensive. So I looked at it, and it was not something I tried Ipamorelin first because Ipamorelin fit the budget was much more budget friendly and known to give great results. The other thing we talked about earlier, and I've never taken any of the GLP-1 agonist peptides. In a future video, I am going to talk about, and I'm going to start doing some stuff because I'm getting ready to try a product called Calocurb, which is an herbal GLP-1 activator. So as opposed to injecting the actual peptides, semaglutide or tirzepatide, and I was kind of leaning towards trying tirzepatide, but now that Calocurb is being studied and is showing these amazing results, and in fact, I know Jay Campbell on his podcast, he's been trying Calocurb and he feels like it's stronger than semaglutide, and he's just taken its capsules. So no injections required, no reconstituting, all the sort of challenges or things. So I'm going to make a future video about that with the GLP-1 activator, Calocurb. And I'm not sponsored. I'm just going to buy. I purchased the product, so I'm going to take the project and do a completely unbiased review of it, and then I'll promote it if I like it. So that's sort of my peptide primer. Those are the peptides. And again, there's a ton more peptides out there that I have interest in. There's peptides that have to do with sleep and stuff like that I'm interested in improving my sleep with. But in the meantime, shoot me like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if you have questions further about peptides. I'm happy to do more videos. But I just wanted to give like my basic primer on peptides, what they are, and why you may be interested. So again, Batra here. Thanks for tuning in.